Get on the train before it leaves the station. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down.
Alrighty, hello there folks. We are back today talking about Don Lewis, Carole Baskin, Tiger King. So this, you guys have know that I've had Charles Boswell, who is running for Hillsborough County Sheriff, which is where Big Cat Rescue is. He's running for Hillsborough County Sheriff against Chad Chronister, the gentleman you see right here. So this is Charles Boswell. He's been on my channel twice, as I said, and we've talked. And there's a few things here in this little flyer that was put out by Chad Chronister that, well, provably false statements made. And he says, here are the facts. You decide. This is Chad Chronister putting this out and representing this as the facts. I want to point that out. I want to point out that he calls Charles Boswell a disgruntled and disgraced deputy, which isn't true, but I do believe that those two adjectives or this description may soon be applying to Mr. Chronister, but we'll get to that in a minute. So first thing he says here is he says that Charles was forced into retirement after being demoted and recommended for termination. Second thing he says, he has no endorsements. He's on a list of cops whose testimony can't be trusted in court. This is Chad's claim. And this is the facts according to Chad. Supported a leftist Democrat for sheriff who wants to defund the police, make Hillsborough a sanctuary county, and reverse trends in decreasing crime. That's absolutely not true. Charles Boswell wants more patrolmen on the streets, as you heard in my interview with him. He wants more patrolmen and less brass. More patrolmen equals less crime. You know, and less brass sitting around in the office, essentially. Sitting around in the office doesn't do jack. You're not out there catching the criminals. I mean, obviously you can do research and things like that, but if we don't got people out on the street ready to respond, you understand? So that's obviously one part of it. So we're going to go ahead now, and we're going to go over to Charles Boswell and his response to this, where he shows basically that these things are provably false. Alrighty there, folks, and here is where Charles Boswell responds to Chad Chronister's little flyer, you know. So here we go. Fact checker, know the facts. Chronister campaign exposed. Third open letter to the citizens of Hillsborough County, Florida. Dear Hillsborough County citizens, this is my third open letter to the citizens of Hillsborough County. I'm writing in response to Sheriff Chad Chronister's smear campaign. In addition to previous smear flyers, Sheriff Chronister's campaign team has once again begun to harass the citizens of Hillsborough via mass text messages while making false allegations about me. Sadly, Sheriff Chronister's unethical campaign style has come to be expected. The following accusations were made. Number 1, on January 6th of 2014, I was given a direct order. Number 2, on February 2nd of 2015, I violated that order. Number 3, on February 4th of 2015, while presenting a case, I displayed unprofessional behavior towards a state attorney. That is what Chad Chronister claims. The flyer then inferred that as a result, my having violated this alleged order in conjunction with my alleged display of unprofessional behavior, I was no longer a credible witness. In reality, I never received such an order. I categorically deny all allegations made against me, and I was never discredited as a witness. In fact, I went on to testify as a state witness well after I retired in good standing. Suspiciously, the names of my accusers were redacted from the flyers, so once again I am being forced to tell you what Sheriff Chad Chronister will not, the truth. In my first open letter to the citizens of Hillsborough County, I explained how I advised against an unconstitutional arrest. I also explained that when this case later went to court, I refused to commit perjury in regard to that arrest. This triggered some of my superiors to retaliate against me. Some of the actions taken were false complaints filed against me by Major Bob Ura and former state attorney Rita Peters. Both of these individuals acted with and under the direct the direction of Sheriff Chronister's now Chief Deputy Donna Luzinski. I was demoted based on these false complaints. And here is just the false complaints. He's just showing them there, these complaints that they had written up about him. Okay. It's noteworthy that these flyers didn't mention the fact that Major Bob Ura and former state attorney Rita Peters were both later forced to admit under oath that defamatory statements they had made about me were not true. Yeah. Is it a little interesting that Chad leaves that part out? That Mr. Chronister leaves that out as he's trying to smear Charles? Despite the fact that Major Bob Ura and former state attorney Rita Peters had been discredited by admitting that the allegations they had leveled against me were not true, their false complaints were never corrected. Instead, the individuals involved attempted to conceal this information, and I remained demoted. The flyers also failed to mention that former state attorney Rita Peters was forced to resign after her unethical conduct was brought to light. So let's go have a look there. Okay, so this is the resignation of Miss Peters. And I would just point out in here, she doesn't say anything particularly incriminating, but what I would say, she says here, as indicated in our meeting with Mr. Moody and Mrs. Heineman, or Miss Heineman, the direction of this office is very important to you. The past 17 and a half years have been incredible, and I'm blessed that I worked with amazing attorneys, both defense and state, throughout the way. So she'd been there for 17 and a half years. So it obviously seems like it must have been some kind of significant issue that must have made this possible. This must have made her have to step down here, as Charles suggests, because they don't generally get rid of somebody who's been there for 17 and a half years on a whim because the direction of the office is important to somebody. Look, just my little horse sense or my little spidey sense just reading that right off the bat. Which obviously doesn't hold up in a court of law, but if you read Charles Boswell's lawsuit, his federal lawsuit, it all begins to become clear. So, alrighty. Sadly, Sheriff Chad Chronister has continued to protect Major Bob Ura and Chief Deputy Donna Luzinski, who still remain employed at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office as a part of his command staff. Additionally, Sheriff Chronister is now allowing his campaign team to disseminate this information despite the fact that he knows it to be false. I have absolutely nothing to hide, and I believe that the citizens of this county deserve the truth. They also deserve a better sheriff than the one they have now. Therefore, I will continue to respond to all false accusations leveled by Sheriff Chad Chronister's campaign team. I have attached my lawsuit in which I exposed the aforementioned corruption. And that's this lawsuit here, folks, which I will leave you a link in the description below. I will also leave you a link to the Megan White lawsuit as well, because it goes along with Charles's lawsuit. So I will leave links to both of those for you to read in the description below. Additionally, I have attached the separate lawsuit in which an innocent African-American mother by the name of Megan White, who was also targeted by these same individuals, as a result of being targeted, Megan lost custody of her child based on lies. I encourage everyone to read those lawsuits so that they can have a clear understanding of what occurred, how evil it was, and who the individuals involved were. As stated, Sheriff Chad Chronister is keenly aware of the aforementioned facts because he too is currently a defendant in the federal lawsuit which arose from the egregious conduct. I find it odd that he has opted to base his campaign on corruption and a cover-up committed by his command staff. I'm confident you'll agree that the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office desperately needs a change in leadership, and I look forward to making that change. Respectfully, Charles Brian Boswell. Folks, I mean, if you could go over and give Charles a little bit of a donation. Charles has been very big on saying no donation is too small. But obviously, Chad has a lot of funds or a lot of campaign funds at his disposal. So it helps to even the playing field a little bit. So if you can help out Charles, please do go over and give him a hand. Like he says, no donation is too small. He's very grateful for any help that you can give him, because he's constantly having to battle stupid crap like this, where the current sheriff is just lying. The current sheriff seems to be buddies with Carole Baskin. He doesn't want to do any kind of investigation into what's going on with Don Lewis, even though massive amounts of information are being turned up. He isn't interested. So it's like, what is he interested in? If he's not interested in doing his job as a sheriff, and all he wants to do is spread lies about his competition for the job, and what's he doing? What's he doing that impresses me and makes me think he's a good head sheriff? I mean, he can't even tell the truth. I've talked to Charles. I think Charles is a great guy. I like Charles's brand of justice any day of the week over Chad Cronister's brand of justice. So I hope you guys, if you live there in Hillsborough County, or if you know people that live in Hillsborough County, maybe you'll talk up Charles Boswell. So the folks in Hillsborough County will get a sheriff in there who's serious about doing his job, and he will also not give Carole Baskin a free pass. He will look into it. He will not just cast a blind eye, which is kind of what's being done now. Who knows why that is exactly? Why he would choose not to look into this case when there's all kinds of information being turned up that suggests that there is something there to be investigated. So you just got to wonder about this guy, Chad Cronister, and his lies and his decision making. From what I understand, he used Hillsborough County Sheriff's funds to put pictures of himself on the side of police cars. I mean, it's just really odd stuff. Everybody look into this campaign, because I think you'll find that Charles Boswell's brand of justice is a damn sight better than Chad Cronister's, in my opinion. So hopefully you guys will go check that out. As I said before, I'll leave the links to those 2 lawsuits down below so you guys can read through them and get an idea of what was actually going on. Alrighty, folks. So I can tell you that I've read Megan White's lawsuit, and part of the one that goes along with Charles's, and I've read part of that, and I'm going to be finishing reading that as well. But it's very, very disturbing what you see happening there. And I've had Charles on, and we've talked about it here on my channel. I've had him on twice, so if you guys want to go back and take a look, we mainly talked about Megan White in our first interview. So if you want to go back and learn a little bit more and hear from Charles himself about that and stuff. But obviously, as I said, I'll be leaving the links below in the description for those of you that are interested in reading those. So it's interesting stuff. Like I say, when Charles says he finds it interesting that Chad is basing this on corruption and stuff, and and accusing Charles of not telling the truth, or that he's been discredited, and saying all these things, I find it interesting too that Chad would take that avenue, because the lawsuits filed, Chad's still named in one of them, so he's aware of the fact that he's just aware of the facts, and he's misrepresenting them in this political campaign. You know what I mean? So that's something that you want to take into consideration. Beyond that, I know Charles Boswell is looking at the evidence that's coming up regarding Don Lewis, and he's seeing something that warrants an investigation. That's what he's seeing in it, but that's not what Chad's seeing in it. So what is Chad looking at? Right? What is Chad doing? What's Chad looking at? What's important to Chad? Because disgracing an officer because he didn't want to testify and perjure himself in court the way you wanted him to is not a good reason. And so I just think it's good for everybody in Hillsborough County to understand those things, especially for those who are looking for interest for Don Lewis, who have been made aware of that situation since Tiger King came out, and are wondering why the guy, the law there in Hillsborough County is basically like dragging their feet and not caring. Although, even though, like I said, there's so much stuff coming out showing impropriety. So I'll leave you with that, folks. So please go and donate to Charles Boswell's campaign. It just helps him even the playing field a little bit, so that he can try to refute and combat some of these false statements that, Chad Cronister's campaign team are putting out. I'm mass texting people, really, to convey these obvious untruths. So I'm going to be posting this video on Twitter, replying and tagging Hillsborough businesses and stuff. I really want the people there in Hillsborough County to understand what they have to choose from there, and what the two candidates actually are and what they represent. Another thing about Charles Boswell that I think is good for Hillsborough County is he wants to bring back accreditation. And that basically is just a way for taxpayers to have an accounting and an understanding of how their money is being spent. And Boswell wants to bring that back because he wants to keep the spending under control. And by going with accredited, then the people know that their tax dollars are being spent wisely. And so Charles Boswell is also looking to bring that back. I think it's also very interesting to note that. I think it's a good thing. And obviously, beyond that, because I'm a justice seeker, as you can tell, here on my channel, I have an issue with the fact that justice is not being pursued in regards to Don Lewis. And Charles Boswell, unlike Chad Cronister, he is willing to pursue that truth. And so that's why we like Charles for a number of reasons, but also because he's willing to pursue justice for Don Lewis. So I leave you guys with that thought. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.